Hello. This thing keeps pulling me back in, and this combination is lots of fun because what I've been doing is sampling this into this, and in the last video I was talking about kind of how I was layering things, and I've been doing that, but the thing that I wanted to do and play around with today was making a rumble with the Move. And I know that's a little bit controversial because you know, the whole one of the baseline elements of making a rumble is either using a side chain or an LFO or something to duck the other kick. And the way I've kind of watched 50 million different rumble videos out there is the basic idea is, you know, playing in a club, playing with kind of loudspeakers and subs, you need to let the kick do its thing, and then let the speakers release, and then let the low frequencies come through. So having a kick that has got a long release or a long decay isn't a good thing because it doesn't give the time for the speaker cones to release for the next one. So the idea is you have a main kick with a you know, very sharp transient, very short transient that does the main thing that kind of really, you know, gets through, and then the rumble creates the layer, the bottom foundational layer. I can also work as a bass and all of those other things, and if you're watching this, you've probably watched 1,000 different sort of rumble videos. But doing it this way, and for the type of music that I play, it's not such a big deal to have it sidechain or drop the volume of the rumble, let the kick do that. Because instead of live processing the bass drum, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample the bass drum in and then process that, and then have it separately sequenced along here. So let's stop waffling and kind of get into it. On this first track of the Move, I've got a drum kit. I've got this first pad MIDI triggering the bass drum, so I can kind of sequence that in. Let me just grab an empty clip. So I can sequence that in, and what I'm going to do is on this pad I'm going to record the kick into this, but I want to do a couple of things, because what I'm thinking of is, one of the things that I really like about a rumble is, you know, letting that bass layer sort of morph and change timbre as it goes through. And so the kick that I've got here, let's just kind of play the 4 on the floor to give you an idea of what I've got going on with the bass drum. It's got a short release, there's no effects. I've got a little bit of a feedback loop happening that I can kind of add to it to change the timbre a little bit. I've got the CV, so I can oh my god it a little bit, and then, you know, add a bit of drive in as well. But that's my basic kick, kind of doing something a kind of a bit just sort of mellowy, not lots of texture in there. It's this. So what I want to do for the rumble is have something that actually does have more texture in it, so that I can use the filter in the Move to change that over the course of a whole lot of bars. So that's my basic idea. So in order to do that, I know that this is my base state of my bass drum, but what I want to do simply is I'm going to add a bit of effects. I'm going to add a little bit of drive, and I'm going to add a little bit of feedback. And so when you're listening to that, what I've got is the bass of the kick is still there, but I've got all of these kind of extra harmonics, this extra texture sitting up in the higher frequency range, and I'll show you why I'm going to do that. So simply all I'm going to do is hit record. It's asking me to press a pad, so I'm going to record into this pad here, and let's go. Actually, what I do want to do is, that might be enough. The only thing that I forgot to do is just add a little bit of release. So maybe let's just record that again. Cool, you can see it's got a bit longer in there to work with. The other thing that I do have, again, which people yell at me, don't do that because it'll make it sound muddy and stuff. I don't like a bit of mud, is I've got a delay on the drum kit as an effect and some saturation as well. And so actually I'm going to do that right now. So now that I've got this in here, first of all, let's just drop the delay. I'm going to reset my kick back down to what it was, drop the drive, drop the feedback, and so I'm just there. I've got some saturation, so on this pad let's add some saturation to that, and then going back to the drum kit, you hold down shift and turn over and you get to the filter. And I've got 24 dB and I'm going to just bring it. Okay, let's build this. So I've got my kick. Here's my rumble. And what I like about doing it this way is instead of live processing the kick as it's coming through, and putting effects over the top of it, by actually having it as a sample, you can play with the rhythm a little bit. So if we just kind of kick off just like with an offbeat. All right, we can actually have a bit more fun with it. So it gives a little bit more flexibility in what's kind of going on in there. That's cool. I'm going to get rid of that for a second, that one for a second. You know, other things to sort of play with. There's some effects we could. And there's a whole bunch of effects, but I'm not, this is just kind of doing exactly what I want to do for a minute, and I'm going to stay in this filter frequency space. Okay, so now I've got that bass line. If I press and hold shift, I can double the clip. So double the loop to 2, 4, 8. And that gives me some space then, like let's jump up to bar 4 and put that extra note in there. Let's go up to 8 and put 1 there, and then put another one there. And so that'll give a bit of variation over the course of the 8 bars. But the other fun bit is being able to automate the filter now. I'll just go back and just add that bit of delay in. And I've done this a couple of times, so I've actually got now 4 different types of rumble that I could work through. So if we jump back to a previous clip that I made with that first rumble, let's have a listen to that one. I've got the snare sequenced in that. Let's just close that down for a second. And then we'll just jump to what we created. Cool. Okay, let's do a second thing with the snare drum. I want to record that into here as a second layer. Let's go. Okay, so that's my snare, but let's take this and pitch it down like an octave. And some saturation on it. And just to be fun, let's change it to a high pass. Cool, and let's pan it off. Okay, I think okay, let's copy that guy to there. That's working for me. Okay, very cool. Let's go down to this guy and record some more of this. So if I'm doing, okay, let's start with the filter all the way down. Let's hit record. Press a pad. Cool. Some saturation. Now I'm going to do the same, but on this one. Stop. Just turn the hold off. Okay. All right, let's go to this one. Let's do the same. Hit record. Hit the pad. Cool. Right, so I've got these two. Now, infinite hold, do decay, but 20 seconds. And then, like, the fun thing here is having this set up as chromatic. Because I've got these guys as pairs now to go with that, let's go into here and let's pan this one this way, and then let's do this one and pan it this way, and you got this huge wide weird. One of the things I like doing, because that's captured at 8 bars, but let's take it down to 7, and then at least something's kind of happening out of sync. So if my kicks are at 8 and then this stuff is at 7, then we get this kind of changing, looping thing. Let's go. Got on here a clip that has this note, yeah, let's go here. So here I've got this note, it's going for 5 bars, and I've just got it droning. So you've got to sit here and you've got to scroll this all the way up to 80. Which takes forever because it scrolls so slowly. I wish there was an easier way of doing it. Anyway, so there's a nice big long note drone. So that is playing this plus the sampler that's on here. So let's listen to it all at once. We'll bring it in separate now. Cool. Again, like 4 tracks, but sort of infinite tracks. This, playing these and resampling or sampling these in. Fun. Yeah, so that's it. That's what I've been kind of having fun with. You can watch the other video of this setup where I sort of talk about recording the bass synth in and layering that, and that's exactly what I've done here. That I've got this track here triggering the bass via MIDI, but then I've recorded a layer of that over the top as the sampler. And so I can actually like do, so even though that's mono, I can do sort of multiple layers. I won't say that I can play chords because I can't play chords, even though, you know, they're probably triangles and whatever. But no, that's not the point. Just this is so nice. That's it for today. Thanks very much. Thanks to all my subscribers. Thanks for everybody that leaves comments and likes and stuff. Very, very much appreciated. Till next time. Bye.